All right. So this is the weekly team meeting. Welcome. First, I'd like to introduce Mikola. Welcome. He's a new backend engineer on the APM team. I think this is your first team meeting, isn't it? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Hi,
Okay.
everyone. Nice to be here.
So you just started, this is your 5th day, I think. So
That's correct.
all right. Do you want to just give a quick 1-minute introduction of kind of where you are and where you were before GitLab?
Okay, hi, everyone. Before joining GitLab, I was working as a Ruby on Rails developer for Unamo for over the 3 years. I started there as a junior developer and worked up to the senior and team leader role. The Unamo provided the software as service platform for the tracking search engine presence and the social media presence. So basically, we're crawling Google, Bing, Yandex, and provide the insights for our customers. Back then, I was leading the backend team, which were responsible for maintaining and improving the reporting app, which was built on Ruby on Rails, 5th version. Right now I joined GitLab as a backend developer for the APM team, and I'm really happy to be here and happy to collaborate with all amazing people I already met, and I'm looking forward to get to know each of the GitLab member.
Great, thank you. All right.
Where you based at?
In Poland, Wrocław. This is the city by the southwest border of the country, so in the Czech Republic and the Germany.
Great, thank you. Welcome. All right, I have a couple topics to kick us off today. First one is around the kind of the scope of 12.5. We have, oh, it went up. Now we have 48 issues, and that changed in the last hour since I wrote that. So we have 48 issues currently assigned to 12.5, which seems like too many by a considerable amount. So I just wanted to kind of talk about process a little bit, and then my next point kind of gets to part of this, but also part of the problem is that we moved, I think I counted 14 that have the to schedule label, which just means that we moved them from 12.4 to 12.5, and we need to figure out what to do with them now.
Yeah, that's one. That one is on me. I didn't have a chance to walk the board and reschedule, but basically, I'm trying that in any issue, once we've committed to the number of issues per milestone, I will try that for every issue that I will get in, then I will push another issue to go out. I mean, usually the ones on the bottom, which represent like lower priority, will move out. So I assume that 14 issues will be removed from the current milestone. Probably, although it depends on the effort estimation, but still, it's like some work that I'm trying to do. But still, even without 14 issues, it's 34, which I think is a bit higher than what we planned before we moved those issues.
Right. Yeah. One thing is we had a few new issues. I actually moved a couple of them out already, but there's new issues that were kind of created and added to 12.5 in the last, well, this week. So I listed out some of them there. And I'm not saying, I don't need to like dig into each one of them. I'm just saying like that's another thing contributing to the number going up, is that as we add new issues, sometimes we just assign them to the current milestone. And I don't know if we need a better plan for that, or how we should better handle issues, or issues if we're they come up and we need to add a new issue, kind of what's the process for that? And I'm interested to hear if people have opinions.
Yeah, on one of those issues, the one I mentioned down there, 34784. I just created an MR that when I stumbled on this bug earlier this week, and the reviewer asked me today, could you make an issue for that, which I hadn't planned on doing, but I'll do it from now on if we need an issue to go along with it. But that one should be, it's already in review, so it should just briefly blip up on the radar.
Okay.
I think
I guess
as a
for
general
those
rule,
issues-
we don't necessarily need one issue per MR. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe there was some reason for it. I don't know, but in general, I don't think we need to. So you just mentioned if you have to do it. I don't know that that's a thing. I don't think we have to have like a one-to-one correlation.
That was my assumption as well, but the reviewer asked for it. And, no point not doing it, and they wanted to change log as well. So.
I wonder if the rest of the issues are also because of the same reason. Not that someone asked, it's because they were linked to one ML.
Yeah, I know a couple of them that I moved out already. There were just things that, similar, they were small. They came up during an MR review. So in my case, it was Adrian had a MR. It was during the review. He created an issue to address something. But he wasn't quite sure where to assign it to make sure it got prioritized. So he just put it in the current milestone. I moved it to 12.6, the next milestone, but I don't know if that's the right thing to do either, if there's a better way to schedule that. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at is, do we have a good way that as new things come in to kind of flag them and I feel like it's similar to the to schedule label that maybe we could just reuse that same thing. But I don't know if other people have thoughts.
Can we maybe put it in the backlog or something, and then when PM gets an opportunity, they can just go through the top of the backlog and see if there's something really important, and then that goes into the next milestone instead of pushing everything into the next milestone ourselves. We just put everything in the backlog. If it looks like something that should go in this or next release, then we pull them as and when required to the milestones.
We could do that. We did that at one point, and then when I guess I think it would just depend as far as like what's most helpful for you, Dove. I mean, we can help support whatever workflow you think is best. For Kenny, that meant like not putting a milestone on it, not putting backlog, just leaving it empty, because then it would get surfaced in the GitLab triage issue every week. So I think it just depends on what the what workflow works best for you, and a way that we don't lose track of those issues, but still,
I'm just thinking out loud. So one thing about putting things on the backlog that I fear for is that we'll end up, get lost in an enormous amount of issues. It can go out to more than 100 issues, and it will get lost. I can go over them every now and then, but going over more than 100 of issues, it's not scalable. So we can put them without any milestones, so they will surface up, and then we can try to understand where we need to fit when we need to fit them. You should also, I'm thinking about what should we do with new issues generally, like not only the one that we want to assign. Should we go over them? I mean, there is some sort of like a grooming meetings that people are doing for issues. I saw like the PM is driving them together with engineers, And I was thinking, maybe if we have time, we can carve like 10, 15 minutes and go over the new issues for the last week. And then, we can talk about it, we can put some comment, and then we can assign them to the right milestone.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And we'd identify those just by leaving the milestone off, so they appear in like the triage issue that comes up every week. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Or how would
we? We can do that, or we can simply just filter by, the create issue and go over last week. See which one was open from last week until today, how many of them were open, and then just go over them from top to bottom or bottom up. This is how I used to work, and it worked out pretty well. Of course, it depends on the amount of issues. So we can give it a try for a few iterations, like we are doing with the weights, and see if it works. And if not, we will try something else. So basically, it doesn't matter if you put them on blank backlog or whatever. Let's make sure to take 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes from the weekly meeting, if we have time, go over the new issue that we have, and make sure to label them and assign them to the right milestone. That's my suggestion.
Okay. So it looks like I just did a quick search. I'll put it into the agenda, but like in the last week, it looked like there was about 18 issues that were created. So we could go, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know if anyone else had thoughts on that. Okay, is that something, would we want to go through those recent issues now? And
yeah, do we have more items in the agenda? If not,
there isn't right now. I don't know if anyone else has things that they want to talk about though.
We can leave a sufficiently awkward silence to raise them, and then if nothing happens, we can move on.
Silence is agreement.
Yeah. Okay, so you want to go over? We have 18 new issues. I guess we can.
Sure, I can share here.
Try to understand them and assign them to the right milestone.
I'll try to share. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Should we start at the top and start going down?
Top is
or do you want to start?
I mentioned earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So this is the one that it's already in review. So I don't know if we need to.
Right. So some of these issues. Oh, right. Because some of them will be spawned off of like the work in 12.5.
Mm-hmm.
Should we filter by ones that don't have a milestone, or is that not going to capture all of them properly?
I think the worry is that we created a new issue and then potentially put it in the wrong milestone, or arbitrarily put it in. Enough. Like I moved some into 12.6 already, which maybe that's not appropriate. And
and everyone can assign any milestone you like. So no,
makes sense.
Let's go over the new one.
Yeah.
All right. So then the next one.
Yeah, this is something that that I open based on a Slack conversation that happened in the product channel. So right now, when we are customizing, we ask our customer to customize the metric dashboard. You need to go to the root directory folder, locate the file, update the file, and then go back to the dashboard and apply the change and see the changes. And the proposal is that once you will click, there is something similar in Grafana, that once you will click on the panel or on the tile, you can immediately either, it will redirect you to the file, or it will reveal the file, depending if it's in .com, it can be redirected to the file, or maybe like create some sort of a visualization that you will see the YAML file, and then the user can immediately change it, update it, and maybe to like a merge request or a commit, update the file and immediately see the changes he made.
This is very similar to an issue that Miguel has opened as well. He's requesting a backend facility for almost doing exactly this thing, to being able to submit a JSON file, have it converted into YAML and turned into a merge request. I don't know exactly. Let me find
I think his suggestion is about, I think it's in this current milestone, it's in 12.5.
Yeah, that one's around rearranging the dashboard order.
Yes.
Rearranging the queries in that YAML file. Although this is a really interesting proposal. I wonder whether we wouldn't be better served to kind of pursue this other path here, because if we're essentially having like a link out to the web IDE, I don't know, this is interesting, because if this is like the longer vision for where we're going, maybe we need to rethink.
Yeah, I mean, I think both. Yeah, this is why I signed to 12.6, obviously not this milestone, not in this milestone, because we need to think about, I think both ways are valid. We need to think about what is right for our users. Is it through a YAML file, or is it through, updating it on the UI? I think, it's easier and nicer and to do it, through the UI without updating the YAML file. But do we think that with that suggestion that I've made, we'll have like more options? Because usually when you are limited to the UI, you have some limitation normally. And
well, I mean, you mentioned Grafana. I mean, that's an interface we all know and maybe love. Where you edit your thing and then when you try to go away from it, it's like, don't you want to save your changes? And it does save that to some kind of JSON representation. So the only thing that's missing from that, interaction is creating a merge request. But I mean, they do something along the lines of, track changes for each of those things. So I mean, we can start from that UX and figure out if that's what we want to do. But
yeah, but anyway, this one is on me. I mean, maybe I'll move it to another milestone. I just didn't want to lose sight of it, so this is why I signed to 12.6.
Okay.
Yeah, we can skip this.
To Adriel's point, I had not even considered firing that thing up in the web IDE. That sounds like an MVC for editing your dashboards for sure.
Well, I mean, it's because we already have all that interface built out, right?
Exactly,
that whole thing is already done for us. Even if we could like get that into a modal or something, I don't know how reusable it is. Maybe we kick them out to the web IDE for now and then worry about how to integrate it. But it would be really cool to kind of see, like, you make a change to the YAML and then it like updates your dashboard and you're like previewing what changes you're going to make and then you can commit them. I don't know. That seems like a really nice user experience.
Well, we're thwarted at this point. We're somewhat thwarted by the fact that each of those things kind of lives in a database row. They have to be imported, and
kind of a mess, right? Yeah.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a mess. I'm just saying that it's way more convenient for the Rails app to pull things out of the database than to go rooting around in a YAML file from the project. But if we're doing infrastructure as code, then stuff in the database is not cool.
Okay, let's keep moving so we can get through some more of these. I think this one deserves some more discussion. I don't know if we want to have.
Yeah.
Maybe we can talk more in the issue.
In the issue. That's good.
Yeah, in the issue. Yeah. Second one is almost similar. It's maybe the MVC even before the MVC. I mean, basically when we tell our customers to change even the default metric dashboard and not like, using some sort of version control, we tell them to start the file from scratch. And I know that we have the dashboard YAML file in our source code, so why not expose it? So, customer at least will have some sort of a template so they can play around. They have a dashboard, they have a YAML file, they can do like 1 and 1 plus 1, say, okay, that's the YAML file that I need to update. I think it's like an easier experience than starting a YAML file from scratch because it's very sensitive, with indentation and everything. And it's just a barrier for a user experience. But it's similar to the previous one. It's kind of related. So
sure,
we can skip the discussion, I guess, for now.
All right. Let's see. This next one, Raj created this one.
Oh yeah, there's a front-end bug. So the collapsible sections, some of these sections, if there's data within the charts, the section should be open when the page loads, but it doesn't do that. So even if there are some charts that have data in it, it renders as closed sections. So
I think we might have one. This may be a duplicate.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it though before I. We can move on while I try and find it.
Sure. Yep. So now this one doesn't have a milestone. Should we go over? Do you want? I guess I'm wondering what we want to how we want to handle these now. Do you want to leave it without a milestone? Do you want to take this time right now to try to put it where you think it belongs? This one might be a weird case because there might be a duplicate of it, but
no. I mean, we should add
just
some
in general.
comment. If it's duplicate, it depends. I mean, it really depends. If we think it's critical bug, we can assign it to the current milestone. If we think we are missing some, I mean, the reason for this discussion is to better understand the issue is clear and we have enough detail and how critical it is and if it has the right labeling and everything.
Right. Okay.
So if this is a duplication, then it's better put the duplication here.
Yeah.
And then we can assign the right milestone.
Okay.
I can do it. I can assign a milestone.
Sounds good. Okay. Here's another. We'll come back or potentially come back to that one. But then there's this one where the selected text is unreadable.
Yeah, so for custom dashboards in the dashboard dropdown, when you select it, it shows the entire path in the dropdown instead of just the name of the file. So if you have a bunch of dashboards, it's difficult to.
That's what I thought Dove's. That's what I thought Dove's issue was earlier.
Yeah.
This bug.
Okay. But there's a pretty straightforward front-end fix. So
sure.
Yeah, I think that the backend is already providing the name. I don't know why we're not using it, but.
So what do you think is the effort on fixing this one?
So I think when we fetch, I think when we fetch all the dashboards available, we also fetch a human readable name. We're using that in the drop-down items, but not once an item is selected. So I think we should be able to do that without any backend changes.
When you first navigate to the page, right, it has the title, right, instead of the name of the dashboard.
Yeah, it gives the entire path. But along with that, we also fetch the human readable name for the dashboard. We can just use that.
Okay. Seems good. Let's see. This is the next one. Oh, right. So in 12.3 or 12.4, we changed. There was a GitLab monitor. We renamed it to GitLab exporter, but there's still a couple places that reference the old name. So.
Oh, okay. So this is like continue the work we did from, I think, the previous milestone.
Yep. And I
so
think
we have some more.
Yeah, it looks like there's a few more places. We changed a lot already, but it looks like there's a few
I know
more.
I fixed a couple of things in the documentation.
Okay, good.
It seems like something that was changed in that I changed in the documentation a month back.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So that's that one.
Should keep it on 12.5. So it's in 12.5.
Right now, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should keep it. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we need to finish this.
These were a couple these are the examples I was using earlier. This one and the next one about there were issues that came out of comments in an MR. I moved them out of 12.5 into 12.6 just to. I didn't have this.
Yeah, but I think I mean, is it?
So I don't know that it even should be in 12.6. Yeah.
No, maybe. So the question is it I mean, is it a prerequisite for adding the Elastic Stack as a GitLab managed app? That's the question. Because if it does, then it probably need to be in 12.5 as well.
Right. I don't think it was. I had briefly talked to Adrian about it. He didn't seem like he thought it was a prerequisite or that it had. He didn't have much urgency to get it done. So,
since you're required to give a URL for Kibana, right? There could be some kind of. I mean, you would have to handle that outside of your Kubernetes cluster or GitLab, but you'd be able to handle a restriction to that URL or that domain, right?
Possibly. Sounds right. And I think there's a question too if we actually are going to use Kibana.
Yeah, I mean, there is a question if we are going to use Kibana or not.
Right.
Which is still open.
So maybe we have to talk about that before we can decide if this needs to get done even.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think the next one is similar, or has a similar restriction that we have to decide about Kibana first. But I don't think this is going to block any of the Elastic Stack or Elasticsearch stuff that we're installing.
Okay, so those two are just for if we want to use Kibana, then we will need to fix. So we need to implement those two issues.
Yep. Okay. So then the next one is this one. So Miguel, open this one. This is the one that you were talking about, David, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Is this something that we want to do from the front end like this? I mean, I think that was part of the discussion that Miguel and I were having, whether we want to essentially pass the entire YAML file to the front end and then we rearrange it and then pass it back, or whether we'd rather, I mean, I don't know what's easiest as far as.
He put in here specifically, Jason, it's going to be hard for the JavaScript to process YAML. The JavaScript's going to want to do something with JSON, and it's going to need to be converted from JSON back to YAML on the back end, most likely.
Yeah.
But that will potentially lose comments from the if there are any comments in the YAML file.
One of the other things that we talked about was potentially, I mean, eventually, right now, all we're interested in is rearranging, right? For this particular issue, we're just interested in rearranging the existing queries. But eventually, the goal is we're going to be able to add and remove them as well. So when we think about it, like from that perspective and doing all those things, I'm not sure what type of communication between front end and back end makes most sense. Do you have a preference? Thinking, I mean, we haven't. We'd have to investigate. I'm sure. Don't mean to put you on the spot. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm just not sure. Yeah, that whether we should proceed like this with the JSON approach and or whether we should do something else that makes sense when we think about, right now we're just interested in rearranging. Eventually we want to add and delete as well. And that's kind of where that web IDE, like exposing the YAML, is kind of attractive because it takes, at least as a first step, it takes care of all that for us. But,
maybe that's the first step. I mean, you can also have some sort of version control.
And, so the things we would need if we just did that would be some kind of facility similar to the CI lint that we have for checking your syntax or whatever, making sure it's valid. We might need a dashboard linter, but that would be pretty, that would be just instantiate the JSON, looks good, rock on, or something along those lines. But that would be 100% back end, thumbs up or thumbs down with some error message.
Okay.
Anyway, I just don't know, like I said, because if you are planning on working on this in 12.5, I just would hate to kind of send us down a wrong direction and then like one milestone later we realize, oh, that may not have been the best.
And I just assigned myself to it because he'd mentioned it in one of the channels, and so I wouldn't forget about it. I'd talk with him later today, but I plan on unassigning myself after we discuss it.
Okay.
So
yeah, overall, I think we just need to find some kind of approach that will let us do all of it, and then, figure out how do we MVC that, or, start with the rearrangement and then expand from there.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this one goes along with some of the other ones, so we might have to have a kind of bigger discussion on
on the issue.
This one of these, yeah. One of the earlier ones that we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those. Either one of those. Do you want to move it from 12.5 if we are having a discussion, or do you want to keep it?
Yeah, I think we have the design, like from the front end perspective, we have the designs that I think Amelia gave us, which was, creating that modal that pops up, and then, oh yeah, it's right there, like on that page there, which was, this was the design, and it makes sense. It's just, I'm not sure from an implementation standpoint whether we should continue down this path or whether we need to rethink it now that we know kind of the longer term. The other designs that we have already are the ones for adding and deleting metrics, which that issue is, I'm not sure where that is, in 12.6 maybe.
No, I think it's 12.5 as well. I think it's I can find the issue. Sure, yeah, I can find it.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe this needs an epic and we can kind of tie these issues together, but this whole effort, I think, is, something we'll have to kind of strategize. And I know that Miguel is dedicating some time to working on this. So before we get too far down that path, I think we should have that discussion and, figure out what approach we want to ultimately take here, just so we're not, if we do need to pivot, that way we don't, like I said, we don't spend extra work doing something that we're not going to use.
Yep. Okay.
Matt, can you put some comment on the issue? So we will.
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put something on there.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll keep moving here. Ruben created this one.
This was a follow-up from from an MR that Tongkwa suggested. One of the maintainers suggested that we include this in the concern itself. So this is an entirely backstage change, so I created this issue for it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how we want to prioritize those, but yeah, okay. We can keep moving then. Here's another one about that Miguel created.
Yeah, that's the one I just.
There you go. Oh yeah, okay. You just shared that. Yep. I don't know.
So this is spun off of the draggable thing,
Yep.
like the save. I think they're all related, and we need to guide them to the epic, right? This is. I mean, if you click on the 27835,
Okay.
to achieve, this one.
Yeah, this is all part of what we were just. Hey, there they are. There's the designs, like the full workflow there.
That's what I was referring to.
There's another one though, even still beyond this. Amelia, do you know which one I'm talking about? Like where we add metrics.
I think the add metrics one might have already been done, but we also have the third one in that series that we did was the additional dashboards, multiple dashboards, and I think that one's been scheduled for the next milestone. But I'll try to find that the add metric one.
Oh no! I know, not the add metric. I think the one you're talking about, the one about
multiple
dashboards. Yeah, adding in. Yeah.
Right now it's assigned to 12.6.
Because all of this is related to all of that. This is all kind of one, in my mind anyway. From an implementation standpoint, we're doing the same things, which is modifying that YAML from the UI.
Yeah, I think you're right. And the question is, should we start building it from the YAML first with the web IDE, or should we go straight to the UI? I prefer to start building it, bottom up. And I think like web IDE first and only then the UI. That's my personal preferences, but I mean, it's up to you to basically decide what's better, what you think is better. I think, building this from bottom up makes more sense because the UI is something that we can change. It will allow us more flexibility.
I think we already can do the web IDE. I mean, essentially, as long as we connect into the right file, it would just be linking them over there, and then they can already go in and like edit the YAML and commit a change, and then it's in the dashboard. But doing it from the web IDE would just be like identifying the file for them and linking them
for them. Exactly.
Yeah. Which is a great MVC, I think, and there's not a lot of work involved for us in doing that, but.
That MVC doesn't. It doesn't take away any functionality they already have, and it actually gives them more functionality without having to go find and keep multiple tabs open to edit things or whatnot.
It would make me a little nervous if we were like getting. I know maybe we could work towards it, but if we're requiring users to be able to like edit the YAML file in order to edit their dashboards, like it's kind of it's making it pretty complicated. And I don't know that. I know that we're talking about using dashboards for lots of different things outside of this, and like maybe non-technical people are going to be using it, and in that case, are they going to be able to edit a dashboard? Like longer term, it does seem like it would be nice, and a lot of other products do offer ability to edit dashboards from within the UI, so it would be cool to move in that direction. Longer term, I think it's more usable for everybody, but I guess I don't know if that's.
100% complete. Agree with you. I agree with you. We want to strive for the user experience of dragging and changing and saving dashboards.
I've got an idea.
Where should we start? Yeah, go ahead.
I've got an idea for how we deal with these dashboards. I mean, I think I could give you the 30-second blip. Is I think we ought to be able to do it like we do edit issues now. You should be able to say, you know, # dashboard name and select it and have it show up in a wiki page, and either be live or you know, either be live or an image from a point in time. And that gives, and that way, ever how many dashboards get created often, you know, and I think we should start with, I know this is not a popular decision or thing, but I think we should start with pulling in Grafana dashboards, start naming our dashboards a particular way so that we can reference with a, you know, a special character. I know we've used almost all the special characters in the wiki now, but, you know, use a special character dashboard name to pull that dashboard into just a general wiki page, and that would give us the ability to make GitLab style dashboards that anybody could use. Start with Grafana, end up with using that dashboards that we've defined, and anyway, that's
wow, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I haven't really. That's an interesting concept. I think this represents a really non-trivial effort. I think we may need to get like a group of people. It may be best to sync up, you know, with whoever. And I think the problem here that I'm trying to avoid is front end is out a little bit too far ahead. Like we're already working on this, and I think we need to slow that down a little bit until we get the actual like back end piece in place, and then we'll know a little better how to integrate this, because otherwise, I guess that's my concern, is I think we're just out a little too far ahead right now on the front end side of this. We shouldn't really be working towards implementing until we know, you know, what our approach is going to be. And then so maybe what I'll do is talk with Miguel and kind of pull him back on this, and we can assign him to something else, and until we kind of figure out how to handle like actually providing an API for the front end to allow a user to, because the UX is here. I mean, this is all done and it's perfect and easy. It's just a matter of deciding how to communicate that information back to the back end so that it actually can make the necessary manipulations or open the merge request or whatever it is that we're trying to do.
The question is, what would it take from the backend effort to implement what we already have on design? That's the question. If it's a matter of one iteration, obviously we need to go with that. But if not, then maybe we need to think about like MVC style.
Yeah, we'd have to. I'll could dig into some of the issues a little more. My guess is it's going to be multiple iterations worth of work to get to this point.
Yeah. So if it's multiple iteration, I think, you know, at least let's provide our users with some sort of something that is easier to use. I mean, I'm not saying it's not usable today, but it's hard. It's hard. As a new user that tried to update dashboard, it took me a while until I was able to do some. And if I would have like a link to the file, and you know, I'll have some sort of a template. So, okay, this is the name, easy to change it, and this is how I rearrange it. It will make my life easier.
Okay.
Because this is how I would prioritize it.
Okay.
Okay, let's continue talking on the issue. It was a good discussion.
Talk about that one. Oh, this is the triage report. I don't know that we need to talk about that. That one's automatically created.
Yeah, we don't
us.
need to. We don't. No need
to. Here's one. Looks like.
What's the follow-up on here?
Oh, it looks like this isn't properly sanitizing the Jaeger URL potentially.
This is a security issue.
Yeah, we shouldn't show this on the recording.
All right.
That also should probably be confidential.
Yeah, we need to hide this.
All right, all right, we'll come back to that one. So here's another one. Enable environment metrics panel types. Oh, so this is just removing a feature flag that we don't need anymore, if I'm reading it right. Yeah, okay. Seems pretty straightforward.
You want to sign it for the next milestone already. Just straightforward.
Okay. And then let's see, we're almost to the end of this week's worth of issues. Invalid PromQL queries. Oh, so we're getting a error back, but we're not showing it. Is that because it's an invalid query? All right.
Is it related to the backend call and?
Yeah, so
I think this may be more of a front end bug. Like when we get a 400 back from PromQL, we're not showing that error message to the user properly.
Okay, yeah. So we'll have to look and say, look and see if the backend is returning enough information, and then maybe the front end needs to also.
I know that when the alerts are sent over to Prometheus, they're sent over as a background process, and there's zero reporting back as to if they were valid or not.
Okay.
That's how I discovered the equals and not equals and double equals issue. I was looking through pod logs, figuring out why my alerts weren't being set.
Okay. Nice.
I thought we were directly communicating with PromQL from the front end. This seems
not for alerts, but this is not alerts, so this may be different.
Maybe that feature flag is still not raised. I'll take a look at this and figure out what needs to happen here. There's a couple pieces that may need to get merged first.
Okay. Maybe one or two more we can go through. You created this one about. Oh yeah.
That's the investigation. Yeah, from our last discussion. Maybe let's move this to 12.6. Okay.
Okay.
I was debating whether we should do the investigation this milestone or next one.
Yeah, I think another bug came up recently similar to that. But and then here's one about authentication for Prometheus. I don't know much about this, so I'm just reading along. If anyone else has some insight, speak up.
Oh yeah, so this came up from a discussion in Slack where I asked, I think this is the one. It was a question in the channel by.
Yeah, I think that Ben and I commented on this briefly.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is something that came from a POC. Yeah, let's put it on 12.6. And we need more.
None of Prometheus does not support any authentication at all. So all of the authentication that will have to be done is at the reverse proxy level, I think. But that makes our job easy. I mean, we have a lot of different things that we can support, and we probably already support.
Okay. So that was all in the last 6 days. I mean, we haven't talked about ones going back, but that was a good chunk, and we're almost out of time, or we are out of time. So are we okay kind of stopping there for now on this issue walkthrough? Okay.
Yeah. I think yeah. Okay.
Okay. Are there any other topics people want to bring up briefly at the end here?
So just so I'm clear, sorry. And well, when we create new issues, then we're not assigning milestones. Is that what we decided, so that they get picked up at the end of the week?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I mean, if we will, so I don't think it matters if we'll continue to do like a review for last week issues. So it doesn't really matter if it's assigned to a milestone or not assigned to a milestone. We will go over the issue, and then we'll decide to assign it or not to assign it, or maybe just leave it the way it is. I mean, let's continue doing this for the next couple of meetings and see if it makes sense. I think that some of the issues that were open this week was because of there was a lot of issues on review, because of like we're like in the middle of, I'm just thinking like finalizing some issues and opening new one. Maybe next week we'll have even less, but let's see the trend. Let's see if, how many issues we picked up last week. Yeah. Yeah, one last comment from me, just sharing some feedback that I got from few GitLabers around the latest release. They were really happy with some of the features that we launched. Primarily the one that we can select like multiple pods and multiple environments. I got like really good feedback, and I just wanted to share it with the team. This is really valuable features that we are releasing that can actually be used in production. So thank you all for the hard work. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, thank you for that. Good job, everyone. All right. Well, I think we'll end it there. So thanks, everyone, and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.